Okay, so good morning. This is about an introduction to digital forensics. There's some definitions and overview. So first of all, what is digital forensics? So digital forensics is a process of using scientific methods to collect, preserve, analyze, and present digital evidence in a court of law in a legally permissible manner. Okay, these are the steps involved: collecting the data, preserving it in a form so that it is not tampered with, analyzing the data to find patterns, and also presenting that to the court so that it's acceptable to the court. So that is basically what digital forensics is. Okay, so it's a branch of forensic science that deals with recovering and investigating digital data to help law enforcement agencies, businesses, and individuals also understand and use digital proof to solve crimes and also might be solve some disputes in the case of businesses. So that is what digital forensics is for. Okay, one or two cases has been presented here. So where is digital forensics used? Say, for example, we have an institution that suspects that an employee is using a compromised credit card. So, investigators have to find out whether a compromised credit card is being used or not, or how the employee got the compromised in the sense it might be an example is it might be stolen credit card which is being used. So, what does the investigator do? Okay. So in that case, the investigator has to examine the individual's computer and also other digital devices to determine how the credit card information was obtained. Okay, so for that, the individual's browsing history, the email, and any sort of communications has to be examined to find out any signs of phishing attempts. Browsing history has to be checked to find phishing websites have been accessed. So from there, whether it is from the phishing website that the credit card information is obtained. Okay, or maybe some other social engineering method. Social engineering means it's basically about um, uh, what social interactions may be used to extract information. Say, for example, I am sending you a mail, or you receive a mail with my name asking you to send all your credentials, that is BTech certificates and 10 certificates, all that has to be sent to me. So you wouldn't check whether it is from my right email that you received the mail, right? You'll send it to the as a reply mail. So that is a social engineering attack. So is it through social engineering that this information has been, credit card information has been obtained, or maybe the individual is not even aware of whatever has happened, and it might be a malware which is there might be a malware which is present on his or her machine, and it is a malware which is actually initiating all the transactions. Maybe it is that. Okay, so in order to find out, the investigators have to examine so all these information, browsing history, email, and all other communications which happened, or maybe even data stored on his or her devices, and so on. So this is an example of where digital forensics becomes relevant. Okay. Okay, this is maybe you have a corporate espionage and intellectual property theft which is happening. Okay, a suspected thing happened, and then again, the digital forensics investigators would be brought in to examine the computer and the network access and all those information. So all digital devices have to be accessed and the information extracted, analyzed to find out evidence for something which has happened or something suspected to have happened. Okay. Okay, so that is what. So the definition of digital forensics is using scientific methods to collect, preserve, analyze, and present digital evidence in a court of law which is acceptable to the court. That is what the definition of digital forensics is. Now, coming to the phases of digital forensics. So, as we said, the process of collecting, analyzing, and preserving digital evidence in a legally admissible manner is what is important. So, National Institute of Standards and Technology has developed a framework for digital forensics, which includes four phases. So, first, the acquisition phase. So, acquisition is collecting digital evidence from various sources. That is the acquisition phase. So, collecting evidence from, say, computers, servers, mobile devices, and other storage media. So, here this phase aims to make a forensic copy of the evidence, while preserving the original as unaltered copy, because the data has to be presented in court. There should not be any tampering, any sort of changes happening. So the first step is, if it is the data from a hard disk, an exact copy is generated or taken. That is the acquisition of data, right? That is the first step. Next is examining or analyzing the forensic copy of the evidence. So we have made a copy, and that copy is analyzed for evidence to identify any relevant data. That is, identifying the file types, when the file was generated, the timestamps, and other information. So this also includes checking for any signs of tampering or alteration of evidence. So examining data is identifying whatever is relevant for this particular investigation. And once the data is taken, then you go for the analysis phase. So identifying data patterns, trends, anomalies. So when you analyze the data, so you might find that a particular folder has some logging of data. It is every 10 minutes a log of activities, or maybe a screenshot of the machine is taken and it is logged every 10 minutes. So that is a pattern which is present and which can be identified by the investigator. And finally, the data, the all the data patterns or anomalies or trends or any sort of information which is extracted from the data which is collected has to be presented in court in a legally permissible manner. So it has to be acceptable to the court. Okay, this is a process: collection, examination, analysis, and reporting. Now, so it is what is important here is the data which is collected, and it has to be uh, uh, that is, data should not be tampered with, and that is very very important in the case of digital forensics. And there are some types of data which are important, or which are very significant to be presented in the court. There are some formats which are prescribed in the case of digital forensics. So what are the different types of formats? That's what we are looking at. So in digital forensics, image formats refers to the way in which digital images are stored and organized for the purpose of forensic investigation. Okay, so image in the sense here, we are not talking about, say, JPEG or such image formats. Here, image means that is, let's say we are talking about a hard disk, which is a original hard disk which is on my machine. So when I say image of it, you are creating an exact copy of that hard disk, which is where all our investigations happen, and that is the image here we are talking about. Okay, so an image format is a file format that is used to capture and store a bit by bit copy of a storage device, such as hard drive, USB, or memory card, and so on. And it is essential to use a reliable and secure image format to ensure the integrity of the original data. Therefore, forensic investigators use specialized software to create forensic images, which are exact copies of the original data. What are those different formats? So, first is a raw image format. This format is a direct copy of the hard drive or whatever data we are trying to take as evidence. So there are specific tools. Say, for example, data duplicator is a tool which is a low-level Linux command line utility which is used for disk image to create a clone of the disk or backing up of data, etc. There is another tool called FTK Imager, which is a free industry standard digital forensic tool used to create, view, analyze forensic images of hard disks, USBs, memories, etc., without altering the original evidence. And it also supports hash calculation for integrity. we all are familiar with, you must have come across what is hash values generated. So hash value is actually fixed length, what bit sequence which is generated from, let's say, a huge file or data. Okay, so there is it's a one-way mapping from the huge files to say a fixed length 32-bit hash value which is generated, and if there is a change in the file, the hash value will also change. So it ensures integrity of data. Okay, so that sort of facility is also supported by FTK image. Okay, another format is N-case evidence file. So this format is used for forensic investigations and contain information related to the acquisition process also. In the first case, raw image means you are making an exact copy, but in this case, you can store information about the acquisition process, such as investigator's name and timestamp and the copy was generated and so on. And it is also possible to have checksum values generated for every 32 KB of data. And also, of course, like we said earlier, MD5 hash values can also be generated. So this is another format used for by forensic investigators. And this is a third format. It is advanced forensic format. This is an open format that can be used with any analysis tool. So there are tools such as Autopsy and SleuthKit. These are open source collection of command line digital forensic tools which are used for generation of this format data. So different formats are supported for digital forensics. Now coming to types of digital evidence, so we the data or the evidence can be collected from, say, from the hard disk, system files, normal files, etc. It can be from memory. Okay, any data residing in memory can be used as evidence. It might be information about running processes, what are the files open, what are the network connections which are open. That information can be used as evidence. Log files. Okay, log files is a very important information. Log files can be generated by any sort of software like operating systems or any applications like web server can generate logs, or firewalls can generate logs and so on. And of course, network data which is generated, that is the actual packets, the network data which is transmitted. It will contain IP address information, it will contain port numbers which are accessed, as well as the actual data which the payload which is transmitted. Data could also be placed on cloud storage devices like Google Drive or Dropbox. So these are different types of evidences or data which is extracted for finding evidence. Mobile data, which includes text messages, calls, and GPS data. Audio and video file recordings, social media data which is posted, web browsing data. So all these are the data which are collected for analysis. Now, another very important thing about digital forensics is preserving digital evidence integrity. That is very important. Integrity of data, if it is tampered with, then that it cannot be produced in court, and it becomes irrelevant. Okay, the data becomes irrelevant if it is tampered with. Okay, so evidence integrity is an essential component of digital forensics, as the accuracy and reliability of electronic evidence can significantly impact the outcome of the case. Unless it is, unless we can prove that it is the data integrity is maintained, there is no point in producing evidence. Okay, so there are some do's and don'ts to remember while maintaining the integrity of digital evidence. First is following the established chain of custody procedures. We are coming to chain of custody later, but chain of custody means, if an evidence is collected, say for example, it is from my laptop. So when is it collected? By whom is it collected? So who has the custody of that evidence? A paper trail or information about that has to be maintained. Okay, unless that is, if there is any gap in that, that is, I have collected the data and I have to maintain a record that till uh, that is from today till say a specific date it was under my custody and I am responsible for it. Okay. And if I'm handing it over to somebody else, that also has to be recorded, so that there should not be any gap in the chain of custody. If there is a gap, means there is a point for it to be tampered. So that is very important. Then write blocking devices to prevent any changes. No changes has to be made in the evidence. So write blocking devices, that might be hardware or software devices which prevents writing. Securely storing evidence in a manner that prevents unauthorized access. It can be even locked up. It has to be locked up. Evidence has to be securely stored using digital signatures and hashing to verify the authenticity of the evidence. Hashing, we already mentioned, MD5 is a hashing mechanism. So we said it is a one-way function from a large amount of data to a fixed length, say a sequence of bits. So it is for ensuring the integrity of the data. If there is a change in the original file, hash value also changes, so you cannot tamper with it. Digital signatures also, apart from the hashing mechanism, or apart from ensuring integrity, digital signature also ensures the authenticity of the data, that is who generated the data, and that is also being maintained. So all these things have to be ensured. Okay. Don'ts are failing to maintain chain of custody, making changes to the original evidence, failing to store the evidence securely, failing to implement secure data storage procedures. So all these should not be there. Okay, methods and techniques of preserving evidence integrity, as we said earlier, chain of custody has to be maintained, hashing algorithms to ensure integrity, digital signatures for integrity and authenticity, write blocking to prevent any changes, and write protection of storage devices. So these are things which have to be done. Chain of custody should not be broken. Hashing algorithms have to be there. SHA 256 is a 256-bit hash which is generated of fixed length from the original evidence or the image. Encryption mechanisms also can be done. You can encrypt the data so that it is not accessible to anyone else. Digital signatures for integrity and authenticity. Write blocking to prevent any sort of uh, writing or any change in the data. All these are required. Okay, some of the challenges in modern era for digital forensics: lack of physical access. So many of the data which are present has moved to cloud storage. So because of that, data might be stored on remote servers. Investigators may not have physical access. That is a big challenge. Data sprawl. There is a vast amount of data which is stored in the cloud, and making difficulty for investigators locate and extract relevant evidence. Multi-jurisdictional, since data is again stored on the cloud, so the crime or suspicion of crime might have happened in India, but the data might be stored somewhere else. Okay. Device heterogeneity, so different types of devices, uh, varied devices are there, from IoT devices to, so device heterogeneity, so you have different file formats, different configurations, so it's very challenging. So these are physical damage might also be a problem. So these are some of the challenges. So this is the overview of digital forensics from. So what we have emphasized is what is digital forensics, uh, what are the file formats supported, and what is important is the integrity mechanisms for integrity of data. All these things are provide you with an overview of what digital forensics is. Okay.